know what you Smile. Oh, the kuddel. Even een oude jongen. Oh, de bij. Ja,
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know whether I'm excited or just plain exhausted, really.
Yeah.
A bit of both. I'd like to invite the Colonels Hinton to join us on the platform, on the comfy seats. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel David and Sylvia Hinton. Important people, but he's my boss and she decides my next appointment, so I'm going to be so polite.
So any suggestions are very welcome.
I was just laughing so loud you couldn't hear him. Great, thank you for making the time this afternoon. All joking aside, because we love you and know you anyway. A lot of folk from other roles and things, but thank you because THQ is an exhausting place to be, and it's quite a journey, so we're grateful to you for making that journey. And a little preamble before, and they're both happy to take questions. I'm the filter. Said enough, haven't I? So that's great, and I'm really, really grateful to them for that. So this afternoon I've got some of the entertainments team here, get a little bit beneath the skin of the entertainments team. We're starting dead on, because last time we were a little bit late for tea, weren't we?
No!
Yeah, just the tiniest bit. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, our first guest this afternoon, Ian Browning!
What?
Oh, that's hilarious!
Well,
Can everybody just sit like Ian Browning? Everyone, come on, do it.
okay. Let me just let you know about this picture.
Yes.
It's Robin Bryant. I seen Robin Bryant around you earlier on. I'm not sure if Robin's in.
Count a bit more.
I think it was about 15 years ago.
The embalming fluid's working well.
I had that picture taken at THQ and
I'd just like to sit like that all afternoon.
Who's been polishing the seats?
Chin up. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, we do that.
15 years I've had that in the brochure for 15 years. How's that?
You don't look any different.
Thank you very much.
You are so
That's the chief secretary saying that to me.
smooth.
Yeah, I haven't got my glasses on though.
But his wife, how do I look?
You look better than you did 15 years ago.
She's short-sighted as well.
Yes, okay, so staying with Ian for the moment. I always like to ask really important, deep, searching, spiritual questions. Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, definitely Pepsi.
Pepsi. This is interesting. Band or songsters?
Watch it.
Dun, 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 dun.
You can't say both. Be honest.
You can say both, actually. My rules.
Band.
Band.
Good choice.
It wasn't, no, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It just gives you a genre of what sort of fires him up, what keeps him going, that sort of stuff. And are you a Friday or a Saturday guy?
Do you know what? I am most definitely a Saturday guy.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, bless you. So talk to us about your Saturday, Sunday jobs. Not a Saturday job like working at McDonald's. Because you are a two-job gen.
Do you know what? There was somebody mentioned to me about part-time officers. Have you heard those people sort of sayings? Yeah.
What, like in a rude way?
Yeah, rude way. Yeah, all these officers.
No such thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought I might have a go and do it myself. You know, see if it is right. No. It's not. It's not a job.
That went down.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? Now, I'm doing a job as a territorial envoy, looking after, with my wife who's worked full-time, looking after the court Pontypool. and it's a great place to live. It's a great place to look after as far as the community and the church side is concerned. I work, I think, 2/7 officer I am. 2/7.
So you do 2 days a week?
2 days a week, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to make any jokes about
No.
that. That's great, yeah. Yeah.
And
And she's there all the time?
she's there all the time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why divisional envoyship? How did that happen?
Territorial.
Then really exciting chair. Yeah, we went the other day. I know that, so I've got, and I've
Your feet up and you
I've got sort of drawing pins up.
Bit
my
less
bottom.
pledge
But
next
if
time.
not, we just do this all afternoon. Carry on.
Initially, I became a divisional envoy 5-6 years ago now, and I've been the bandmaster at Corn in South Wales for some considerable time. And I just felt that God was calling me into ministry, and it was year after year. And I'd come to this New Horizons holiday. We would talk about it with different people, wouldn't we? You know, God, the way God calls us deeper into certainly relationship. But I had the situation where I just had to look at what it is that God wanted from me.
Did you raise the issue first or your wife?
No, because my wife was dead against it. That was caused the problem.
Right.
So
Maybe a phrase never to use in relation to your wife. Just throwing that out there.
well, it did cause a serious issue for us. It did, because the argument maybe that we did have, the discussion, the heavy theological debates, was about calling and ministry. And it ended up that I decided, okay, I'm going to go out on my own. I took some advice and some counsel from some very dear people of mine, and I ended up becoming a divisional envoy. Going around different corps, covering for meetings, etc. Some of the unofficered corps, and that went on for 18 months.
Yeah.
Before which my wife then accepted a calling that she'd had for years.
Isn't that
But
great?
didn't need to
story?
tell her husband about, you know? Isn't that dreadful?
That's
We've
amazing.
got such a close relationship.
No, I know, but that is amazing. And so I have to say to a number of folk here, in any gathering where there's any more than 50 people that are linked to the Salvation Army, there's got to be at least a couple of them that should be thinking seriously.
Yeah.
What I mean, we had that conversation all week, haven't we? But there's still stuff for us to be doing, and so yeah, that's really good. So you've been at Pontypool the whole time as envoys.
We became territorial. I've got to tell you this little story.
Tell us this little
Mark
story.
Herbert is here. I just had a little look at
Mark Herbert.
Yeah, Mark. Initially, we because my wife had accepted and acknowledged this call into ministry, we applied to become full-time Salvation Army officers.
Okay.
And we went through the process and went to interviews and various other things. And then it wasn't us who decided. Other people who counselled us thought it might be a good idea just to look at territorial envoy, because Ian Browning is a little bit impatient. He likes to get things done now.
Yeah.
And maybe, looking at ministry instead of hanging around, because there was a time period, because of the way certain things were panning out, it would be a number of years before I could have gone into the training college.
Yeah.
And
Excuse
so,
me. We do know somebody's phone really is on and ringing, don't we? That's fine. Yeah. Yeah. And we're over the whole switch it off, because we just don't, if they go off, we don't know how to turn them off, do we? But just as long as we knew. Forgive me.
that's okay. So anyway, cut a long story short, because it is a very long story. Territorial envoy application. We were very fortunate enough to be accepted, appointed to Pontypool. Sarah full-time, I'm part-time. We've been there now for just over 3 years, and it's a really good place to be.
And you're doing that, and you run your own business, don't you?
I'm part of a group of managers who run a business, yes, small group of managers who run quite a large business.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. You live one life, don't you? You don't live all these separate lives. Somebody said to me a couple of months ago about the problems they're having with their spiritual life, and I'm wondering, well, how many lives do you have?
Yeah, that's true.
It's one life that we live, isn't it?
It is. It is. Anyone got a question they want to ask Ian? We've gone straight there, haven't we? It's so good. And you see a side of Ian where he gives it his time. How long have you been coming to a New Horizons type event?
First of all, with regard to this New Horizon, which has been going on since Pontins, I think I've been here for about 19 different occasions.
And you see these guys, don't you? This is why this is a great idea. You get a little bit straight there, aren't we? About you've got one life to live, and this is a man I'd have him as my officer tomorrow, wouldn't you? Yeah, back him up and working alongside him. That's cool.
You going to come down to...
I may well, but the Secretary of Personnel is right next to you, so I'm saying nothing over the next hour. You want to incriminate me at all?
It can be
Yes.
arranged. It can be arranged.
Yeah. What's the most, and sorry, was there someone that had a burning question? Because I'll just keep going. What's the most fulfilling thing about your ministry?
There isn't one thing that makes it fulfilling. There's a whole aspect of it, isn't there?
Yeah.
The different people that you meet,
Yeah.
the different opportunities. What I find amazing is where God presents situations to you and all types of time. Mainly when you're not expecting it. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like somebody visiting you and knocking on your door, isn't it? You know. I tell a story that I heard the other day about Nelson Mandela. Remember Nelson Mandela? Great leader, isn't he? You know. And apparently he took a nap every afternoon, and he was having his nap, and this knock on the door, and he came down, he opened the door up, and it was this little Chinese guy, you know, and he thrust his clipboard in front of me. He goes, "Hey, you sign!" And Nelson Mandela said, "What for?" He said, "You sign!" And he looked behind him, and there was this big lorry full of car exhausts. He goes, "I'm sorry, Reese, you've got the wrong guy. You know, get lost." He shut the door. A few days later, he's having his nap in the afternoon. There's a knock on the door again. And this little Chinese man has turned up again. And he shoves his clipboard in front of him. He says, "You sign, you sign, you sign." Nelson Mandela looks at me and said, "Look," he said, "I'm signing for what?" He looks out. There we are, a big truck full of clutches and car parts. He goes, slams the door. He said, "Push off, don't come back again."
Oh,
He would say.
he wouldn't say that.
He did. He was kind of so worked up. A couple of days later, he's there, he's having his nap, and knock on the door again. Same Chinese guy thrusts this clipboard in front of me. He goes, "You sign! You sign!" He looks out, there's two big huge lorry fulls of car exhaust. He said, "Look, I'm telling you, you've got the wrong man. Now, who is it that you're looking for?" He said, "You are Nissan main dealer." And the thing is, you meet all types of people, don't you?
Right, so swiftly on.
Yes.
Right, just a moment, because we're going to filter through. Listen, main dealer.
Yeah, we got it.
Ian, it's always good to have you on the team because you are actually the person that you are in the sense that it is, you have one life. So you get that nutty, idiotic side, you get the bass guitarist, you get all the musical, he is who he is. And I think if there are conversations that happen in our team at all, it's folk just sitting next to you and having a chat. So we're great. You're just great that you're here.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on the team. We're going to give him a round of applause for just being interviewed, and he's going to play to us this afternoon, Nay, on his flugelhorn. As he does, I'm going to ask the Hintons if they wouldn't mind moving down. That sounded rude, forgive me. Maybe you'd like to tell us what you're going to play.
Do you know, there was a film, one of my favourite films is the film called Misty, with Clint Eastwood. Do you ever see that film? It's a worrying film sometimes, isn't it? And there was a song made famous, obviously, Misty was being sung through that, and a guy called Ray Stevens, he sang this lead song, Misty. And I think a few years later, he also sang that song, "Oh yes, they call him the Streak." Remember that song? Yeah. He sang that song as well. Anyway, I'm not going to do the Streak, I'm going to do Misty.
You could not do the streak in any way, that would be great.
Visions.
clever than that, does it? Picking at the key, rounding at the flugel. All you need is a bar of chocolate and you'll be fine. Fabulous. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. We are really privileged to have Colonel David and Sylvia Hinton with us this afternoon. Both of them have been in ministry for a few years now.
40.
How polite was that? A few
Very good.
years. 40! I'll talk loudly for them. 40 years they've been in ministry. And Colonel Sylvia looks after all the personnel for the territory. Surprised she gets time to have an afternoon off with the amount of problems we give her. And Colonel David, now you're the Chief Secretary. I did ask you if I could do this joke. You're the Chief Secretary.
Excuse me, can I just have my cable back? Thank you.
Yes. You're the Chief Secretary.
Yes, I am.
How much typing does that involve?
Too much.
Don't ask. It's one of those roles. There's weird titles. The Chief Secretary is actually the Assistant Territorial Commander. What's wrong? Were you messing around? And so we have the Assistant UK Leadership here. So,
I am serious when I'm doing that.
yeah, what, putting your nose on? Or just that? So, good people, and it's great to have. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Anyway. So, important spiritual situations and conversations. Can I call you David?
Yes, that's my name.
Just for the next few moments. Burger or hot dog?
Oh, hot dog. Yes.
Yeah. Can I say with or without onions? Don't.
With mustard and ketchup at the same time.
Yeah. See, it helps. We know what we're dealing with. Favourite holiday destination?
Israel.
Every time.
Every
David
time.
does trips every day. Colonel, I can't do it, you know. When you work on THQ and it's people you know, you tend to call them by their rank and you just think it's their first name. So that's okay. So Cole, as I call him. Colonel Hinton, and they take trips to Israel most years, don't you?
We have to for a couple of years, yes.
So that's how.
I think I've done, the first one was in 2000, and then there was a break of 13 years, and we've done 3 since then.
Gosh.
Mainly because there was a bit of an upset in
There's an
Israel.
upset over there, okay. And are you cinema or theatre?
Ooh. For cheapness, cinema. For preference, theatre.
Do you know, you're lucky because tonight we have theatre happening right in this place.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just wander up to the theatrical area and you'll be there.
Okay, there's thespians there.
There are thespians there.
But we won't talk about that. It's okay.
Right. Now I did check with the Colonel before he agreed. We're going to have 2 really serious conversations. Well, 2 serious entrances to conversations. One is Fit for Mission and one is New Horizons.
Okay.
So thank you for that, because I did say to him, "You're my boss. Can we have that conversation?" Tell us if you could what you can about Fit for Mission. Big announcement this week, wasn't there? So how will it impact us as members of the Salvation Army? We're not expecting confidential stuff, just stuff that we might be helpful to know.
The main benefit that you will experience as Salvationists is that you'll have, hopefully, more care to your corps officers, more care to you as soldiers. We are creating smaller divisions. Who's over 20 here? Okay, well you'll know all this stuff. Do you remember when we used to have more divisions, smaller divisions, but people visited more often? Do you remember that? Well, we're going back to that, thank the Lord. So we're having fewer divisions, more divisions, sorry. What's my name? Who am I?
Sylvia.
Don't go there. We have more divisions with fewer corps, which means, and although we are reducing some staff on DHQ, but I'll explain that in a moment, the pastoral spiritual leadership staff will remain the same, and the intention is that we'll have people coming alongside corps officers who will help them, not to do to them, but do with them mission. It's time the Salvation Army started being what it should be, and that's the Salvation Army. And the Salvation Army should be growing. I can't think that God wants us to be an army and declining, can you? No. So it's about time we turn the whole thing around, and we need to stop all this. I'm saying not all the administration stuff's really necessary, but at core level, we need to start getting back amongst people and impacting people's lives and start growing the Salvation Army. Yeah. And that's what this is about.
And is that okay? Yeah. That's, you know,
sorry, you asked about an announcement this week.
Yeah.
The announcement was simply on the 1st of
September.
We started the consultation process for our employees, because obviously it affects employees. It will also affect some officers, so there are consultations, but not in the same way, because officers are not employees. But those consultations are going on. For the employees, there's a period of consultation laid down by employment law, and we have to consult with them, and if changes need to be made, we have to listen to that and do that. Of course we do. But at the end of the day, whatever anyone else is telling you, if this does not achieve the Salvation Army engaging more in what it should be doing, and that's mission, we will have failed miserably. But I don't think we will, because I believe Salvationists in this territory will rise to the challenge and will once again be the Salvation Army.
Yes. Is there anyone that has a particular question? I mean, obviously, the Colonel can only say as much as he can say, but it was just, you know, someone said to me today, oh, they're shrinking my division, and I'm saying, actually, you need to hear that it's about, I think you managed to work it, that you've got just about, not you, we have, the similar number of corps in every division in the new format.
Yes, there'll be an announcement going out fairly soon about which corps are where. Actually, there won't be a great deal of difference, again, from what they used to be. I think we discovered that, you know, you can't reinvent the wheel. And sometimes you have to say, made a mistake, let's go back to where we were.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's roughly about the same number of corps centres in every division, 22 divisions from 18. Divisional leaders, divisional officers for officer development and leadership, plus mission enablers, plus specialists like youth and community work, all within a division. But the intention is that everybody is much freer to get alongside the corps officers, the soldiers, the local officers, to enable them to do mission. Because it's not about us doing mission, we are in this together. We're the Salvation Army, not us, not you. We're all in it together. So it's about time, I think, we started cooperating and moving along that line.
Sure, thank you for that. Thank you for addressing that. If something occurs to you in the next few minutes, hold it, and we'll come back to that. Because we're bothered about that, we're more bothered about New Horizons. And just putting it out there. On a level, it's just we're interested, and I know speaking to you, you were interested as well when you heard.
Yes.
Decisions have been made, and it's in the brochure saying that as it stands and as it looks at the moment, this is it for New Horizons. And I think do you want to comment to that, or can I say, we would just like it to be reviewed or discussed?
Okay, let me just give a very quick background as to where we are with this. And so it's a bit of finance, I'm sorry about that, but that's the necessity of it. The Salvation Army is a multi-million-pound entity. Our budget, our turnover is £300 million a year. Okay, we're up there with some of the largest. If we were a company, we'd be up there with some of the major companies. We're not. We're a charity and a church. But nevertheless, the Salvation Army has to make its books balance. When I tell you that one of the largest budgets that we have is the programme budget, quite rightly, because that's what the Salvation Army is about. It's about programme. And I'm talking about things like this, and I'm talking about core programmes and social service programmes, and all those things which engage people and transform lives. That's what we're about. But we have to take into account the fact that we must be good stewards. Now, I first came to, well, it wasn't New Horizons, it was Holiday Plus Fellowship, away down in Bognor Regis. And I remember them having 2 sittings in the Gaiety Theatre, and the theatre was packed. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. That was 40 years ago.
That's where I met Peter.
Well,
I know, that's what happens when you have those events, you meet,
well, moving on quickly. In those days, and I don't know how many the Gaiety Theatre held, but probably it was about 1,000, I think.
Yeah.
So we've gone from that in 40 years to 250 quality people. Okay, 250. You've got to then weigh up whether you put the price completely out of people's price bracket, or you have to say, let's stop, let's take a look at this. Now that's what we're doing. We're stopping and taking a look. Never in the Salvation Army say, never. Never. I've just said to you about, we go back and look at things and then say, actually, that was a good idea. So what we're doing is we're taking a pause, we're taking a break. We did it with Roots, and already people are starting to say to us, we should think about Roots again. So the programme service will do that. They'll consider those things. Likewise, with New Horizons, we're taking a break. But what I'm saying to you is we will be looking at it because this is a very important event in the life of the territory.
Yeah.
It meets a particular and a very important need. And therefore, we're not just going to throw it out and say, oh, well, that's, we're done with that, let's just finish that. Because it's a very important event. So what we're saying is, we're just taking some time out, but I'm promising you here today that we will continue talking about that and giving consideration to it. And when we can announce something, if we can announce something, we will tell you that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying never. I'm saying to you, we're just taking time out to think and to just retrench and look again and see how best we can move forward. But we do have to make sure that we can make a financially viable event. In fact, where's Mark? Mark, the special events budget, probably subsidised to quite a large extent, more than most others. Yeah. So that's fine. Yes.
Just to say that it's not just New Horizons that we're looking at. One of the pieces of work I'm working on is looking at all of the events and all of the big things to see how much going to run. So it's not just New Horizons.
Okay, and that's sensible, I think. Any entity, any financially responsible entity will say, let's look at what we have to spend our money on, let's look at how we... See, I don't talk about expense, I talk about investment. Yeah. There's a difference. When you're talking about kingdom activities, it's investment, and sometimes you don't see a tangible return on the investment, but there's a return nevertheless. So what we're saying is, you're hearing what Mark's saying, it's part of a whole review. We will come back to you with some information, and we will go on considering it. Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think well, the conversation I've had with a few folk is, and I'm just going to out that now, because I organised the WAGS weekend, which is at the end of June. I've got details for the women. We're going to have too many there this year, that's fine. But in order to make that weekend cover its cost, I don't mean to make money, to cover the cost, that has to be £165 for a weekend. So you recognise that a 7-day event is really subsidised. So I would be buying into that conversation and saying, it might be we say to you, actually, it will cost nearly double. Because, exactly. But the argument would be, some people would say, well, what am I getting for the extra money? So I hear all of that, which is why I'm understanding that a year's break will give us a chance to say, right, if this is what we're going to do. But I think it's just being honest and saying, we don't want it subsidised, do we, as much as we'd like it provided? Is that fair?
Can I just add one rider, and if this is anybody here, that's, please just take what I'm saying. Please do not write petitions to us.
You need to know what's happening.
Yeah,
okay,
I'm just saying that so that you're aware.
Okay, I need
it's
to
not
say
rude. It's not rude. It's just signatures.
It's fine. That's okay. We don't mind hearing people's views. Can I particularly say, do not join in Facebook conversations about this.
No.
Okay, I'm a Facebook user. I use it for ministry, but at times, hear this, it's the tool of Satan.
Yeah.
Things that are said on Facebook and things that are written on Facebook are not helpful as far as the kingdom is concerned. And my premise is, if you wouldn't say it to somebody's face, don't put it on Facebook. Now, I have to tell you, if the territorial commander were here, he would say this. We do not listen. We don't even read Facebook petitions. All right? So you need to hear that. But what I'm saying to you again, here again, I'm listening to what's being said here this afternoon. The Assistant Secretary for Programme is here. We will go back and talk about this, and we'll come back to you within the whole review of the process. Is that fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
I think that the petition, and not a big angry thing, folk were just signing to say, would it be looked at?
I don't want petitions.
I think that's what we've had. But I'm hearing what we're saying about Facebook, because the minute you put it out there, somebody showed me a couple of links, and folk, it just gets agitated. And we don't want that. We would like it to be reviewed. That's all we're asking.
Yes, that's already on Facebook.
We've heard that. Thank you, Colonel, for that.
You're welcome, Major.
What's your favourite breakfast?
Oh, full English.
Full English.
Except no black pudding.
Just make it easy. I'm really grateful to Colonel for sharing with us in that way. I did say to him, is it all right? Because these are the two things. The other things will be fun later on. Yes, my darling.
I've been thinking about what he said. I'm taking it in. Because this is very important to me.
Yes.
This is my holiday. I've got a large family. They will go to Portugal. I can't cope with Portugal. No. But this, I can almost cope with. So it's my holiday. But now, in my life, and I would like to think that the Salvation Army was going to do this as well. There's a verse in the Bible that says, lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Now, is the army strong enough to do that today?
Oh, you expect me to say yes, but yes, we're doing that all the time. The Salvation Army every day, at the level at which Sylvia and I work along with the territorial leadership, we have to take really important decisions. Let me just give you a flavour of the stuff that's coming across our desk at the moment. We've just approved the new Salvation Army positional statement on abortion. We're just working through a Salvation Army. If I shock anybody, forgive me, but these are the realities. So get into the world here. The Salvation Army is dealing with transgender. What do we do about somebody that is born with the wrong body, wants to be a Salvation Army soldier, or an officer, and wants to go through a gender change? Okay. We're dealing with same-sex marriage, membership in the Salvation Army of people who are in same-sex partnerships. So, yes, we are taking decisions every day, and trust me when I say, if we had not relied upon and continue to rely upon the Lord's guidance, well, I think I'd have been in the box long ago, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's that stressful.
Colonel,
So, yes.
thank you for your openness and honesty. These good folk are around over the next few days, so by all means have conversation with them. Give them a chance to eat, maybe sleep a bit. But the reason senior leadership come here is for this very reason. So by all means, you know, ask the question, but I just said to them, can we ask those questions here? Then it makes a lot of us feel more sensible and safe, doesn't it, already?
Are you going to turn me off now and turn my wife on?
Sylvia!
But before you do, let me just say one more thing. Val, the Major,
Yes.
said it was a privilege, you know, for you to have us here. I just want to reverse that and say, actually, it's a privilege for us to be here.
Yeah.
We enjoy so much coming to an event like this because one of the things that we're in danger of doing within the Salvation Army, and unfortunately it happens because of the position that you hold sometimes, not because you choose to, but just the level of work, is that you can lose touch with the realities of life. And for me, coming to an event like this and meeting good folks like you who are really where it happens in the Salvation Army, okay? There would be no Salvation Army if it were not for you. Because where you are is where ministry happens and where service continues and where you worthily represent the Salvation Army. I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for who you are and for what you do. And God bless you and your call where you are. Okay?
Thank you. Right, now, who's
Why
going
does she get the one without the call?
Because she can cope with that.
Ooh.
That's why. Now, Commissioner Thank you, Lord. Sylvia,
Can I just tell you about a letter I got from IHQ?
Yes.
No, I don't think you should tell
It was
them about
addressed
that
to
letter.
Colonel David and Commissioner Sylvia.
Yeah. Sign from God.
She was having a fever at the time.
When I ran with the Olympic torch, it went on the IHQ website for some silly reason. I was Lieutenant Colonel, and the Secretary for Communication rang me really quickly. When were you promoted? And I just winding him up said, when they asked me to run the torch, they just said what rank do you want, and he was really wound up. How old would you have to sound to be? Anyway, that's fine. So Sylvia, Secretary of Personnel, what does that involve?
Have you got a week?
No, just 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, Val's already said that I look after the personnel in the Salvation Army.
How many officers?
We've got over 1,000 officers. We've got about 5,000 employees. We've got well over 1,000 retired officers. So
Oh my God, that sounds like Colonel James Williams at his back. Yeah.
oh dear.
Yeah, that's good news.
And the personnel service takes in things like the safeguarding unit, which looks after child protection and vulnerable adults, care of vulnerable adults. We take in the pastoral care unit, all the pastoral care work and the counselling service. All sorts of things that we're
Do
involved
you
in.
prefer working in a separate role to your husband as officers, or did you quite enjoy working together? It's a fair question.
Can I just say that as the Secretary for Personnel, her line manager is the Chief Secretary.
No.
Oh yes.
But
Does he
in
work?
actual fact,
Yeah.
because I'm married to him,
Yeah.
he's not allowed to be my line manager.
Right. Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the TC is my line manager.
Even worse, eh?
But the next Secretary for Personnel will be line managed by the Chief Secretary.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's the normal pattern.
So it won't be another wife, will it? Obviously.
Well, not be his other wife.
And
What's your
before,
question? Yes.
I have no idea. Before you were the Secretary of Personnel, but you were a single woman DC, weren't you? Like, not a single, a divisional commander, a woman, a female.
Yes, I think your last question was, did I like working with him?
Oh, with him or with it? Yeah, I glossed over it for you.
As a corps, as a corps officer, we just worked together, but we
Yeah.
always did our own thing.
Yeah.
Because I always thought it was a waste of resources if we both did everything together. So I would do some things, David would do other things. But then, when I got my own independent role, I actually quite enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then, for a little while, David went to THQ. David went to THQ. I remained in Scotland as the divisional commander.
Don't you travel all the time? Don't you answer
Every-
that?
I travel every week.
He came home at weekends, and then when we went specialing, I was the divisional commander, and he would carry my handbag.
Unless there is anybody here from the war cry or whatever, that is not true. She said to me, will you come specially with me? So I said yes. I think I went the first week and I said, now I know how Dennis Thatcher felt, I'm not coming.
I have to say though,
I don't carry handbags.
I did used to carry a handbag, and I'd leave it on the platform after the meeting. And of course, after the meeting, everybody wants to talk to the DC, don't they? When the DC's there. So they'd talk to me, and he'd be left sitting in a corner somewhere. So I'd go and collect my songbook and my Bible, and I'd hide the handbag under his arm. So I started carrying a briefcase instead, so it was better.
He's your
Big
best
one.
mate, isn't he?
He's okay.
No, you are really good buddies actually though, aren't you?
We've been married for 38 years, so I think...
Tell us the stuff that we want to know.
My sentences.
The stuff we want to know.
Oi,
The children.
I'm not on.
Well, then they'll bypass the children to tell you about grandchildren, won't you?
Oh yeah, well, we've got 2 children, and we've got 2 children-in-law,
Yeah.
and we've got 4 grandchildren. So we've got 2 granddaughters, 2 grandsons, and they're all absolutely delightful.
Are they the best in the whole world?
Yes.
Of course they are. They range from 8 years old to 3 years old.
Oh.
Our little grandson started school about 2 weeks ago because they live in Scotland, and he thinks it's wonderful. And he's only been at school, as I say, 3 weeks. At the end of the 2nd week, the teacher had taught him quite a bit of French. Grandpa was on the FaceTime to him and said something in French, and our grandson said, "Grandpa, your French is très bien." So that's after 2 weeks. By this week, it's probably fluent.
No, bless him. Thanks so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing time on the sofa. Thanks for being honest and open with us. Annie's going to sing to us. Ian, can you pop the mic with the lead into the mic holder for her?
I'm not
That's
saying,
fine. She's going to go that side.
Not and he's going to sing, Annie's going to sing.
Annie.
And he's going to
She's a bit cool.
Annie, not Annie. Can you sing? We'll get you up for it tonight.
Oh, David, please do.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is
Sing
this?
it.
Is it Laudate
It's
Domini?
called The Unexpected.
Yeah.
No, we'd rather be unexpected with Annie, thank you. So, thank you for your time. Find yourselves a seat, and Johnny and Ian back on the... Thank you very so much. Colonels David and Sylvia Richards.
No offence, she's got her back up the way I'm going to
Now, I've been shouting so much this week that there's not a lot of voice left. So fill in the gaps. Oh no. Go on, go on. Is that okay for you?
Yes.
Unexpected blessings you send upon our way remind us how good you are. They bring the fresh assurance that you are always there, no matter how our world appears to be. You are conscious of each feeling, you comprehend each thought, you hear the prayer that words can never form, for you are God, and you bless the land, your children, you are God. And you love with all your heart, you are God, and your word is never broken. The unexpected blessings say, I'm here.
Now, if I describe you as a part-time salvationist, would that be truthful?
Not really.
Let's just put it out there.
People think I'm a part-time salvationist, particularly the Methodist Church, because they think I'm Methodist.
Why would that be, Annie?
Because I work for them. And even if I'm wearing the army uniform, they walk up to me and ask me things. You know, if I'm at a joint event, they still expect me to be Methodist. So that's quite nice,
Is
actually.
it interesting, really working alongside the mechanics of another church?
Yeah, really interesting. It's really valuable, really challenging, really stretches me, and it gives me lots of ideas that I can bring back to you.
I know. Yeah. Right, won't ask that one. I'm just interested because if you still get the army most. Is the army sits better for you?
Yeah, I will always be army out.
Why? Why would that be?
Well, the singing's better.
Yeah. Thank God. Can I just say thank God? Not just
The singing.
Singing, all right.
Well, the singing's
Not the
better.
singing. I just think I sit really comfortable with the army, and I miss a lot about what the army brings. There's a sparkle in worship in the army that I love Methodist worship, don't get me wrong, and I'm in Methodist worship a lot of the time. But there's a sparkle, and army's home for me.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good that I work for one. I only work for them part time, so they don't get me all the time. It's where I feel good and.
Yeah, and army's like family, isn't it?
It is,
Actually, we can say what we like about it, can't we?
And I can walk away from work and go to the army. Whereas, that's
And
quite
can you
nice.
separate the two? Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And what do you do for Methodists?
I'm a development officer, which means I'm a bit like a DDE at DHQ.
Right.
Lay. Hint. And and the Methodist Church use lay people more than the Salvation Army do. So it's a bit like being a DDE at DHQ plus somebody from SISTAD all rolled into one.
Yeah, because you're very involved in training and
also development, visioning days, mission days, and
Annie's used a lot for the army, which is great, because the Methodists pay her and train her and we use her. It's win-win. So that's excellent stuff. But you also do, there's another, I don't know whether it's part of your role or just part of your giftedness is what you do with regard to graphic recording.
Graphic recording. Well, I work for myself as well. So I work for Methodist Church 2.5 days a week, and the rest of the time I'm freelance. And I do a lot of the stuff I do for the army and for the Methodist Church. I did some work at University College London the other day. So I do work for all sorts of people. Anybody will pay me, well, within reason.
And so officers that are good for nothing.
But one of the things I love doing is graphic recording, and that's where I go into events such as this, and I record what's going on through pictures. And I sometimes do that on an iPad. You might have seen some of my little scribblings on iPads. But I was here recently with WAGs, and I did it on my favourite way of doing it is on a huge graphic wall, which is 3 metres long and about 1 metre tall. And I just do a picture throughout the event that captures the essence of what was going on. That's a lovely way to earn a living.
Yeah. When Annie came to Peter's retirement 3 years ago, I said, well, would you record his retirement service? And it was just lovely. Why are you laughing?
Because they all thought in Boston Band that I was playing games, because they saw me on the iPad.
So Annie was working on the iPad, and it means that even now, it's one of Peter's favourite things. So there's a graphic recording of everything that was, the gist of the retirement speech and what the band played and what the songs sang. And it's just this beautiful bevy. Have you seen Annie's work? Yeah. There was a clip in there. Well, we are going to ask her whether it's this weekend or it's just a little bit too much, but at some point Annie's going to put something to paper to graphically record the things that we've seen and heard over this week, which will be lovely for us, wouldn't it? Yeah. We'd like that very much, wouldn't we? Yes. If you'd like her to do that, say, please, Annie, would you?
Yes, please, Annie, would you?
Yes. I'll see.
She's just clever. Okay, so the things we want to know, cat or dog?
Both. But actually, cat. Slightly biased towards cat. I've got both.
Yes. X Factor or Strictly?
X Factor.
Okay. Really? Mm. Oh. And flowers, bunch or pot plant?
Bunch.
Thank you. Annie, where's God been at work in your life over the last few weeks? Work, home, army, wherever?
Actually, the most, it was lovely to see the youth chorus last night. I've met their summer school. I was at London South East Summer School recently, and it's lovely that at my age I've been rediscovered to go to summer schools, because, you know, that's the sort
We
of
were
thing
too badly behaved, weren't we? That was the problem.
Yeah.
When we were
And
teenagers.
I've sort of been doing summer schools for a while again now, in the last 7 or 8 years, and I'm loving it. I went to London South East, and I did a little workshop on, it was a really challenging week, because they're deeply spiritual these weeks, you know, the summer schools for young people. They're brilliantly spiritual, and they spend a lot of time in prayer and reflection and challenge, and they have a lot of fun too. But I did a little workshop on drawing, the sort of thing that I try and encourage other people to do personal journaling and things like that with using the techniques I use. And I was really moved when there was, the media people did a little video for the final festival, and it was a girl that is very artistic but had used my techniques to create a little video. And suddenly to see something you'd spent an hour and a half with somebody, and they had just grabbed it and taken it and made it their own. And that wasn't a pride thing. I felt moved that God had given me something that I could, and then, see, I'm getting upset thinking about it, because it was beautiful to see that she'd taken this tiny scrap of information and turned it into something stunning. And I had a tiny part in that, and she'll make that grow in a brilliant way in her own way. So, so God growing me through growing other people, I think.
That's lovely. And the thing is, and I did say this at the beginning of the week, and I will mention it again, that for these 3 guys, it actually costs them double to be here. Because they're asked to help out, and we love what we do, but it means that they're actually they're not at work to be here, so they're using their holiday to come and make our holiday special. So just on behalf of us all, we'd like to say thank you very much. Jonathan Searle. So much I could ask. Not because, just salt and vinegar or cheese and onion.
Oh,
I know.
no.
Oh, are you not a crisp boy?
No, I'm a boring boy. I'm a ready salted boy.
Oh, okay, ready salted or shaken salt and shake.
Oh, salt and shake.
Yeah. Do you
That's
remember the
what
little blue bag? If you weren't awake enough, it was late at night, sometimes you ate the bag accidentally. Yeah? Favourite last film you saw at the cinema?
Oh, no, Whitney and I don't go to the cinema. We're theatre people.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, hello!
Oh, yes.
What was the last thing you saw at the theatre?
It's a musical called Miss Saigon.
No. Did you come up to London to see that?
Yes.
I hope you averted your gaze at certain areas.
Oh, yeah, we
well
did.
done, just into that. And Strictly or I'm a Celebrity?
Oh.
That's a hard one.
It would be I'm a Celeb, because that's what Whitney likes.
Does
She doesn't
she?
like dancing.
You mentioned Whitney a little bit. Whitney is your wife?
Yes, Witsy Woo is my wife.
Woo.
Witsy Woo.
Yeah. Anything exciting you want to share about Whitney that people might not have picked up earlier this week?
We're having a baby. Oh, well, Whitney's having a baby. I'm just, we're having a baby.
How long?
It is. Not that I'm sad or anything.
Have you got a countdown?
I have got a countdown.
Is that more exciting than Christmas?
Oh, so exciting. So, baby countdown is 8 weeks and 5 days.
Ooh. Have you got hours as well?
No,
Okay.
we're not that sad.
8 weeks, 5 days.
8 weeks,
Okay.
5 days.
Well,
Until the
listen,
due date.
That's exciting stuff. Jonathan, what's God doing in your life at the moment?
Ooh, God's doing some amazing things in my life. Whitney isn't a Salvationist. She grew up in the Salvation Army and then left. So we met together at music school, at summer school, 8 years ago now.
This week?
Yes, yeah, it's this week. We met there, and as you know, I moved to Bournemouth about 3 years ago. Whitney never went to the Salvation Army when she lived at home. Since we've been in Bournemouth, she comes every week, every Sunday, and I've had a text message this week to say that Whitney has been in talks with the adherence secretary at Boscombe, and she'd like to become an adherent.
Yeah.
So God is at work in my life, but he's also at work in Whitney's life, which is absolutely amazing.
And that's really special for both of you when you've got a baby coming in. A lot of that faith stuff is just pulled together.
Yeah.
We made an adherent at Boscombe, and they spent the whole of their little... They wanted to testify. You don't have to make it too public, but they wanted to. But they got all nervous and said about them being an adhesive. Which I actually thought that's a much better phrase, because it says what it is, doesn't
Yes.
it? Jonathan, how many years have you been involved with New Horizons?
Gosh, yeah. I obviously was born in, so my mum and dad met at Social Army Butlins.
Did they?
They did, so I'm a Butlins baby.
Oh, too much information.
No, not like that, as in they met at Butlins.
Yeah.
Gosh. And yeah, so I've been...
Get your birth certificate.
Oh, Valerie Mills. So I've been at, so I'm 26, and I've only missed 1 year.
No.
Yeah, so I've done that whole transition.
Wow.
And then I missed 1 year, which was 2011, and then 2012 I came back on the entertainment team.
So you came as a kid, you came to all the
Yeah.
kids stuff, and then the Blinking Owl stuff, and all
Well, I
that
wasn't
sort
blinking
of
out, I'm
stuff.
too young for that.
Are you?
Yeah, but I came when it...
All the youth
Like,
stuff.
my earliest memories are at Pontins, at Breen Sands, and the television programmes, which we were talking about
Yeah, do you remember
last
the television
night.
programmes?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So yeah, basically New Horizons has been a massive part of my
And you're
life.
realising your dream. Shall we preempt it, or do you want to let it be a surprise?
Oh no, I can't stop smiling from ear to ear. Yeah. And so this evening Mike and Jenny Clark are here, and I'm singing a duet with Jenny, which for me is absolutely nerve-wracking. But it's just absolutely amazing.
And I have a whole 4 lines to sing tonight. I don't want you to get too excited. And Mike Clark said, she's sounding good. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think I could die now, actually. Die happy. Mike Clark said, that would be great lined up
And
tonight.
then he took his urine, he did then.
Listen, it's been great. Hasn't it been great to have guys from the team with us this afternoon? Particularly lovely. Thank you, Colonels David and Sylvia, for just being you, but for being honest and open and all of that stuff. Would be nothing else, I know. Jonna's going to sing us out.
Yes.
Just such a real chat show feel, because I knew you had a little upbeat number. If you're really hungry, you can conga out as he's singing. Jonathan Searle, accompanied by Nick King. No, Nick wasn't good enough for him.
No, it wasn't, Nick.
So he's got background music. If you want to bop a little
Yes.
bit, he's going to sing to us Melody in Your Heart.
Here we go.
Heart.
Heart.
It might be Nick King anyway, will it? You're all right, Paul. Jesus wants me for
That's nice.
A song of cheer is ringing clear, for it filled my heart with happiness. What a happy, happy day. In my heart today, there's a melody in my heart. In my heart today, there's a melody in my heart. I carried a heavy burden, but it rolled away. There's a melody in my heart.
Do you want us to all play maracas? Come on, everyone. That would help, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It was love, what the change so wonderful. His love for me, beyond degree, found me in the dreary wilderness, filled my heart with happiness. In my heart today, there's a melody in my heart. In my heart today, there's a melody in my heart. I carried a heavy burden, but it rolled away. There's a melody in heart. I carried a heavy burden, but it rolled away. There's melody in my heart. In my heart today, there's a melody in my heart. In my heart today, there's a melody in my heart. I carried a heavy burden, but it rolled away. There's melody in my, there's melody in my, there's melody in my heart.
Because as part of the entertainers team, you get to sing some really awkward songs. So wasn't it great that we heard as they really are?
Oh no, Paul, no, Paul, no, Paul, no.
So a great afternoon with my pals, Ian Browning, David and Sylvia Hinton, Jonathan Searle, Annie Howlett-Foster. Give them a big thank you. I'm glad to say that's it. Yes. Dinner's at 5-ish. You don't have to kill each other.